On today's show, light the beam. The Sacramento Kings make the playoffs for the first time since 2006. What does that say about this team? What do we think about them going forward? And Kevin Durant returns and the Suns win again. We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On NBA. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome. You are Locked On to the NBA. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On NBA is free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube, where you can subscribe and comment below. What were you doing in 2006, the last time the Kings made the playoffs? Let us know. I want to know what random commenters were doing back then. Let us know. Joining me, as always, on a Thursday, host of Locked On Bulls. What you got for me, Pat the Designer?
It's just so refreshing to be able to come here once a week and not talk about the Bulls and Mavs, ain't it?
The Mavs played tonight, and I was like, Pat, can we please not talk about the Mavericks tonight? Oh, the Mavs lose again. You can go to Locked On Mavs and listen to me talk about the Mavs lose. You can go talk about the Bulls game was weirdly bad for the Mavericks because the Lakers won and the Bulls lost, which is bad for them in the tanking standings and bad for them in the play-in standings. Yeah. Lots of bad stuff. But we're not talking about those teams. We're talking about the Sacramento Kings. We'll talk about Kevin Durant returning for the Phoenix Suns, making his home debut. And then we'll play our game, Count It Up, where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, including Keegan Murray setting the record, Mavs and Sixers, another delay that I'd never heard of. We'll talk about that and have fun with it later. But let's start here, Pat. The Sacramento Kings. Light the beam for the Sacramento Kings. They make the playoffs. They clinch the playoffs for the first time since 2006. It is now not the longest drought in American sports for a playoffs. The New York Jets now have a longer drought of 12 years. Buffalo Sabres, 11 years. Detroit Tigers, 9 years. And the LA Angels, somehow with two of the best players in the whole sport, 9 years without making the playoffs. We have a Locked On show for every one of those teams. So if you want to go check out those, you can go see.
I do need to listen to Locked On Angels. I'm not going to lie to you. My God.
Locked On Kings will no longer be the most upset of all of those. So you can go listen to Matt George as well. First playoff burst in 2006. This was what was happening in the NBA in 2006. You ready for this? I'm just going to go down memory lane here for a minute.
Let's do it.
Steve Nash won his second MVP. Chris Paul was the rookie of the year that year, still in the NBA, still kicking. There was a rigged NBA Finals that year that we don't really have to talk about anymore. Keegan Murray was 6 years old when the Kings won the playoffs last time. De'Aaron Fox was 8 years old. LeBron James made his first playoffs of his career, and his head coach,
Mike Brown,
the same coach of the Sacramento Kings now. Let's go down the memory lane. What was happening in 2006? The Nintendo Wii was introduced in America. The Da Vinci Code movie was released. Cars 1 was in theaters.
Life is a highway.
Pirates of the Caribbean 2 was released. Talladega Nights was released in theaters.
Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
Borat was released in theaters. The Kings made the playoffs last time, and Borat had just been introduced into the zeitgeist. Pat, listen closely. There were 0 iPhones the last time the Kings made the playoffs. Pluto was a planet the last time the Kings made the playoffs.
That's a good one.
It was not
That's a good one.
It was made not a planet. And by the way, the place where Pluto was discovered as a planet is in Arizona near Phoenix. So if you know that. Okay. The Light the Beam chant started early tonight for the Kings. It was in Portland. There was audible Light the Beam chants with about 2 minutes left in this game. Let's just start here. What does this mean for Sacramento and their fans?
I mean, listen, this is big, right? Getting back into the playoffs is a huge moment. It makes you feel validated in your fandom with the team a lot of times, right? It makes you feel like finally, the Rock has come back, right? Like something like it is a momentous moment. I'll say this, right? Even with the downtrodden season that the Chicago Bulls have had last season was a dream for most of it, right? Like I saw the Bulls go out and win, and it was an exciting feeling. It's always an exciting feeling when you see your team win, and the best feeling in the world is being able to go into a game and say we can beat them. And the Kings fans will be able to get that at least in the I don't know, the first round. I'd say in the first round they should feel that way. They should kind of, I guess, ish.
If you're the Sacramento Kings right now, are you sitting here saying we're just happy to be here? We're light the beam, like we're excited just to be here because they're about to clinch home court too. They are some games up on the Suns right now. Like they have a chance to really cement themselves in the playoff picture, have home court. Their first playoff game since 2006 will be a home game, it looks like. Are you just happy to be here, or are you saying, hey, we got to win our first round series because we should be favored to because we're a higher seed?
I think you have to go into this not with the mindset of, hey, we have to go in and win this series because we're a higher seed, just with the mindset of, hey, we've actually got some advantages against the teams that we may be playing, right? Like where it's sitting right now, they'd be going up against the Warriors. The Warriors are going to have the Warriors are going to have, right, the experience. They're always going to have that advantage, right? But who's slowing down Sabonis? Draymond Green, maybe, right? Like I like what Draymond would be able to, the matchup of Draymond versus Sabonis. Sabonis still has the height matchup there. There's not really a lot of guys on that team, especially with Andrew Wiggins still dealing with the things that he's dealing with, right? They're going to slow down Fox. Like
just Kevon Looney that leads the NBA in offensive rebounds this year, so.
I mean, well, Kevon Looney too. Yeah, but okay, then Sabonis can bring him out to the to the 3-point line, right? Like there's what I'm saying is, right, if you're the Kings, you feel like you have options versus everybody you might be playing, versus the Timberwolves, versus if the Lakers can get up that high, right? Like you feel like, okay, you have to feel like I'm coming into this and there's actually something I have on my team. Not that we lucked our way into this 3rd seed, but that we played well enough and we're able to do things that other teams weren't able to stop.
If you're looking at the Kings in the playoffs, you're looking at that defense first, right? Like that's something you really have to look at and say, okay, well, where are we going to go with that kind of a defense? I want to talk about De'Aaron Fox though, because De'Aaron Fox has been this interesting player throughout his career. He was drafted, 5th overall in 2017. He goes to this Kings team and he plays, okay his first year. Second year takes a leap forward, and then we're like, okay, is he just the player he's going to be? And is he ever going to be an all-star? Is he ever going to be an impactful enough player as a point guard to, all right, maybe be your best player on a playoff team even, or your second best player on a playoff team? And so you started to talk yourself through what can De'Aaron Fox be, and now he made an all-star team this year. He's probably going to be the clutch player of the year. Could be Joel Embiid, but it could be this new clutch player award, the Jerry West award. He's probably going to be on a lot of all-NBA ballots. What do you think this season has done for De'Aaron Fox? Because I think it's done a ton for him in his career, that he has helped carry this team, and the mix with him and Sabonis, the coaching from Mike Brown, like it's all connected. But what do you think specifically about De'Aaron Fox?
I think it solidifies him as the leader of this team, right? It solidifies him as your number one option. Remember, when Sabonis went over there were a lot of people that were like, oh, that's going to be Sabonis' team. He's going to be able to stabilize what they're going to be able to do, right? Like they thought because of what Sabonis did in Indiana, he was going to be the number one option there in Sacramento, where this season that hasn't been the case because of how De'Aaron Fox has played, right? He's had a true shooting percentage of basically 60% just about all season. Nuts. Right? He's 25 points per game. He's finding his teammates, and I think that's the part, right? Like he's able to score, but still have the ability to find his guys open that are cutting right along with them. One of the fastest players in the league, so there's going to be lanes that are opening up when you cut. It solidifies him as one of the best point guards in this NBA. And I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Like I love the leap he's been able to take. I think the thing is the game has slowed down for him enough that he knows how to attack with his speed. The thing for De'Aaron Fox with me was the same thing that I always thought about with John Wall early on in his career. Remember how John Wall would just blow past everybody, but then he'd just be right under the bucket and you'd be like, oh, how'd you miss that layup? Yeah. Like when you ran past everybody. De'Aaron Fox, like the game has slowed down, but his speed hasn't. His IQ is sped up now, and now he's able to pick teams apart, pick his spots, shooting the 3-ball a little bit better, right? Like he's never been this prolific 3-point shooter, but shooting the 3-ball a little bit better to the point where he's a threat, and that just opens up so much with this game.
the mid-range for him has been so big. Like I've seen him pick teams apart to death in the clutch in the mid-range. Just adding that one shot that a couple players can add in their career where you can dribble to the free throw line, pull up. I mean, you think about Kawhi, you think about LeBron even, you think about some of these players that have added that shot. It just opens up so much more for you. Like you were saying, you drive and you have somewhere to go. And it's not just I drive to the basket and that's it. You look at his 2-point percentage. His first year in the NBA, 43.6% from 2. And this is like layups and everything.
Yeah.
58.3% from 2 this year. Like adding that mid-range shot opened up so much more of his game, it seems like. And he's been incredible. Coming up, I still want to talk a little bit more about this team, talk about Mike Brown. But then let's get into Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant returns. Suns win again. They're undefeated with him. We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about this game that Pat and I are obsessed with. The Ultimate Pro Basketball GM mobile game.
I'm not cheating.
Download on your phone. How many championships have you won?
I've still won 4. I haven't gotten past
4.
I'm not gonna lie to you. When I lost after being up 3-0 in the finals, it kind of crushed me. I haven't gone back yet.
You started your team just like I did from nothing. You literally have nothing. The worst. You're the Sacramento Kings after 2006. Like you're starting from nothing. You have no facilities. You have the number 1 pick. You have nothing else. Coaches are bad. Players are bad. Everything's bad, and you build it up from scratch. It's so fun. You train players, you trade players, you draft players, free agency, all that kind of stuff. So go check it out. Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. You can go to probasketballgm.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. It's one word, all caps, all together in the game shop to redeem it and get a 100% boost. Go check it out. Again, Ultimate Pro Basketball GM, the mobile game. All right, Pat, thanks everybody for making Locked On NBA your first listen today, hanging out with us and being part of the show. Go check out Locked On Mavs for your second listen or Locked On Bulls. Every single day, Pat and I, on our respective shows, will be covering the Mavericks, the Bulls, and the chaos that ensues from both of those franchises at all times.
This is literally my emotion with the Bulls this season.
Wearing a Bulls shirt with a smile and a frown. Pretty much the same time. One more question on Mike Brown, though. Okay. Mike Brown is the coach of the year, right? Are there any other contenders? Because I have been so incredibly impressed with what Mike Brown has done with this team. And every time I watch the Kings, there's something else that I notice. Maybe it's just the difference between watching Jason Kidd every game and watching Mike Brown in games, like parachuting in and watching him in the Kings games I've watched this year. But I've been so impressed with what he's done with this team, how he's given them an identity, how he's not been afraid to coach them, how he's been, he's not been afraid to like take a timeout. And you'd think that he would be embarrassing a player by the moment that sticks in my brain is this moment with Terrence Davis where he missed a rotation on defense, and Mike Brown calls a timeout, goes to the free throw line, and grabs Terrence Davis and walks him through where he should be during the game, as the game is going on. Everybody speaks highly of him. Is Mike Brown the coach of the year, or is there somebody else that stands out to you?
I can't even get somebody that might even come to mind. I'm not going to lie to you, right? This is the one thing that we do love in sports is the turnaround story, right? Now, you have to be able to maintain this as well, but this is a 1 year, a 1 year, 1 season type of thing. And I mean, listen, with what everyone else has, we've seen this before, right? Maybe you thinking Joe Mazzulla with what he went through as well, right?
I think the Celtics fans would disagree with you right now at the moment.
I mean, listen, sure. But I mean, overall, right? You still got a 52-win season. He's done some pretty good things given the circumstances. But I can't think of anybody who literally because here's the thing. These pieces, for the most part, were here. De'Aaron Fox was here. Sabonis was here for half a season, and they looked worse. And so now you see Mike Brown come in, and all of a sudden, not only do they look better, they're a 46-win basketball team. It's got to be Mike Brown. It's got to be Mike Brown.
It's it, Mike Brown. I just wanted to give him his props and talk about him as a coach. Let's talk about the best game of the night. From the best story of the night with the Kings to the best game of the night. Suns win 107-100 against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the West. That is just a tight race in whatever angle of it you're in, whether it's for home court, whether it's the play-in or out of the play-in if you're the Mavericks. Kevin Durant returns his home debut for the Phoenix Suns He only scores 16 points, 5 of 18 from the field, didn't shoot well. You had the moment there with Monty Williams where he said, "Stop shaking your head. Greatness doesn't shake their head." I thought that's a great quote from Monty Williams talking to Kevin Durant. But Phoenix still hasn't lost with Kevin Durant. What did you see from KD on the Suns again tonight?
You know what? He even said it right early on in the game. I literally looked at him and I was like, he's rushing. He's excited to be back. He's excited to be in front of a new crowd. He seems like he's excited to be a part of an organization that he doesn't hate. He seems,
has less turmoil, maybe.
Which is wild. Like you said with Monty Williams, right? Like he seems like he's excited to play for a head coach that knows how to be a head coach. I mean,
who was the MVP in 2006?
Ew. But I look at how KD came out to start that game. Felt like he was rushing. Shots weren't falling for him, but he looked smooth. He looked like he was confident in what he was doing. He was still getting to his spots. He was still, like he moves. He literally is. What's that Bruce Lee quote where it says like, "Be like water. If the cup is shaped like water, you take on the shape of the cup. If you're in a bowl, you take on the shape of the bowl. If you're in a river, you take on the shape." Like that is Kevin Durant on a basketball court. He is phenomenal. He's flawless. He moves through the game. And by the end of the game, right, 2 big shots in that fourth quarter. When things got a little tight down there, it really just turned into Kevin Durant. He is a phenomenal basketball player, and if he can stay healthy, the sky's the limit for this team.
You must be shapeless, formless, like water. When you pour water in a cup, it becomes the cup. When you pour water in a bottle, it becomes the bottle.
Why'd you read it like that?
That's the quote.
You could have just read it like Nick. Was that your Bruce Lee?
No, it was just like it was a serene, like intense, like there's intentionality behind my words. Kevin Durant got blocked by Kyle Anderson in the fourth quarter. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen again. He's coming back. This game from Kevin Durant will not happen again. And this is why, like, the Phoenix Suns should be considered like title contenders this year. From all the stuff they've gone through this year, they are title contenders. It's them, it's the Nuggets, and it's everyone else.
It's not
in the West. Again. In the West,
even in the West, it's not going to happen again, depending on how the playoffs are called. Because remember last season when he was Brooklyn versus was it Boston? They let Boston beat up Kevin Durant.
Who's gonna beat up Kevin Durant in the West right now?
I'm just saying, right?
Memphis is the only defense that really will do that. The Kings are not. The Nuggets are not. The Clippers, I don't think. The Clippers maybe.
As it sits right now, your first matchup is against the Warriors, and we know Draymond takes a great pride in just beating Kevin Durant up.
Your first matchup is the Clippers, and you're good there because there's no Paul George.
Oh no, it would be the Clippers. Yeah, 4-5. Yeah, 4-5. You're right.
They're not that physical of a team. Like I just don't think you're gonna face a team like that's going to be physical enough. And who's gonna match up with them offensively? You start looking down the road, and I'm like, I don't know. In this game though, we can focus on this game. Talk about free throws. Devin Booker took 15 free throws. The Minnesota Timberwolves, the entire team, took 12. Chris Finch, the Minnesota Timberwolves head coach after the game, said, quote, "They went to the line 27 times. We went to the line 12 times. Sitting up here and talking about it must have worked for them," referencing Monty Williams talking about the refs. Do you think it worked for them?
Of course. And guess what? The best players in the NBA usually get more calls than not the best players in the NBA. The best, one of the best players in the NBA is on that team, if not two. Like I'm sorry, and guess what? We're all going through it together. Like we're all collectively going through it. It sucks when they do it against my team as well. The Lakers, I think tonight had like 45 free throws. They didn't, but it felt like that at times, right? Like that's. I can't sit here and have had Michael Jordan on my team and complain about the benefits of having the best player in the NBA. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's tough for me.
Yeah, and you look at who got the fouls. Kyle Anderson had 4. Gobert had 5. 4 of them were at least 4 of them were offensive. So you don't even give him that. But like, it's not like. I don't know. I can't go back and forth on fouls and calls like that.
Not with Luka on your team there.
No,
bud.
well, I mean that withstanding, yeah, I can't talk about that. Minnesota had 21 turnovers, 12 from Gobert and Towns. Gobert, like I said, had 4 offensive fouls where he set a screen and turn the ball over. Like there's just too much of that. And you can't just point to free throws in this game. Maybe it was an issue, and maybe you can go listen to Locked On Wolves, and Ben Beacon will tell you otherwise. But I know that Brendan Clean won't have a problem with the fouls on Locked On Suns. But I'm not pointing to that. I'm not pointing to that if that's the first thing I look at.
Yeah, it's like you said. There's too many other things that you as a coach could have done better, Chris Finch. That your players on the floor could have done better. And it was the simple things, the little things. And Phoenix down the stretch, Phoenix didn't have this flawless game either. It was a really good game. They didn't have this flawless game either, right? Like, so there was opportunity for you to win the game. You got to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Durant didn't shoot the ball well at all in this game. 5 of 18 from the field. And I just look at this Minnesota team, though, and like they're good. They've been playing well recently. You can just pick them apart late games when it gets tight like this. And you can just see that, like, Devin Booker ISOing Gobert, Towns getting ISO. Like, both of those guys can get ISO'd out in the playoffs, and that's tough. And it just becomes a huge weakness that you can't, like, when a playoff series, when you get like that, and you're playing against a team with two really good one-on-one players, it's just really hard to overcome those two things, as if those are going to be your main pieces on the floor in Towns and Gobert. We've seen it over and over again. And even the basket that like sealed the game was a Chris Paul lob to Ayton. It was just a normal like pick and roll where you're like looking at Devin Booker and you're looking at KD on the other end, and all of a sudden like Chris Paul just dices you up in the middle. I mean, this Suns team is just going to be a beast to deal with on offense. Coming up, let's play our favorite game.
Count it up.
We're counting the most interesting, fun things in sports, including Keegan Murray setting the record for most threes and a new delay that I had never heard of in the NBA. Let's talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook is the I can't get my overlay going. Give me a second. There we go. Is the number one sportsbook in America and the sponsor of the Locked On Podcast Network. On FanDuel, you have all kinds of MVP odds. We just talked about, they don't have Coach of the Year. I think that's already just been done. Rookie of the Year, that one's done too. Minus 7,000 for Paolo Banchero. Sixth Man of the Year. Manuel Quickley is minus 280. Malcolm Brogdon plus 210. Both of those guys still kind of in it. You can check out all kinds of other stuff on FanDuel. Remember, go to FanDuel.com/lock to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Again, it's FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, Pat. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. And make your second listen today, Locked On NBA Game to Game, where each of us break down and react to our games. We're covering our teams, and you can go get it on wherever you're listening or watching this show right now. Locked On NBA Game to Game. Now, let's play our favorite game.
Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it.
Where we count all the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. Keegan Murray set the record for most made threes, passing Donovan Mitchell as a rookie, passing Donovan Mitchell with 187. Lillard had 185, so he passed up both of those guys in this game.
Count it up.
How soon are we going to see somebody hit 200 threes in a season as a rookie? Keegan Murray might get close in a couple of games here. Will it be this year, or will we have to wait for somebody else?
I'm trying to think who. He's not going to get it this year. I don't think he'll get it this year, unless he just goes ballistic in another game like that would. I'm trying to think who's like coming up. I'm trying to think is there any crazy shooters coming out of college right now? I don't think there are.
Oh, there's like a 7'4" one.
Well, that's
Wembanyama.
Wembanyama, yeah, I guess. But like, is he going to shoot 200 threes in a season? Maybe. I guess it also depends on what team he goes to. Like if he goes to the Spurs, yeah, he might set the record because they're just going to be like, do whatever you want. Like we don't have anyone else. You know what I mean? I think people will get closer and closer, but you're gonna need a special shooter for that.
Keegan Murray only needs 12 to get to 200. He's got 6 games left. 2 a game. Can he get to 200? That'd be the first time ever a rookie has ever hit 200 threes in a season.
Does he know this?
Does it matter? Probably not. Just, hold on. This is all that this is all that matters. Here are the top 10 in most threes ever made in a season as a rookie. Keegan Murray right now, 188. Donovan Mitchell, 187. Damian Lillard, 185. Sadiq Bey, 175. Anthony Edwards, 171. Luka Doncic, 168. Landry Shamet, 167.
That's interesting.
Steph Curry, heard of him, 166. Here's the oldest one. Rudy Fernandez, 159.
Okay.
And then Kyle Kuzma, 159 as well.
Can't go wrong with a Rudy Fernandez reference. I mean, you can, but still.
Mavs Sixers. The second half of this game was delayed because the net on one end was missing a loop. Not like the net was torn or something. It was missing a loop that connects to the basket.
Count it up.
What's the dumbest thing an NBA game could possibly be delayed for? Because I think this is up there. It was just missing one loop wasn't connected and they had to get a whole new net.
How big was the hole? I guess I could see that being an issue if like you and I guess where was it positioned? Because if I shoot the ball and it like hits the like bigger loop,
interesting.
I could, like slingshot it back out, kind of.
That's
like
fair, yeah.
I'm assuming that would affect the shot a little bit. I've hooped on a lot of bad nets out there. Trust me, it does bounce the ball back out. A lot of bad nets.
So some ones I've just seen going to Mavericks games. This season and last season, the Mavericks had a rain delay because the roof was leaking inside in the American Airlines Center.
Come on, Mark.
He doesn't own the building. The Mavericks and Sixers last season had a game delayed in the first quarter for 44 minutes because the rim was bent. One of the rims was bent, and they had to bring the ball back. Mike Breen shared a story about a Knicks game where someone threw up on the court, and because of union regulations, there's only one human in the whole building that was allowed to clean up the throw up, and they had to go find him, and it took him like 15 minutes to bring the guy out to clean the throw up on the court.
That's true.
Shot clock violation or shot clock malfunction, I think, is another dumb way that a game gets delayed. Is there any more you can think of that a game gets delayed by something stupid?
Game gets delayed by something stupid. I would say what's the like ripping the jersey, or like the jersey doesn't fit? Like, are we really holding up the uniform standards here? Like, do we all have to be in the same perfectly identified colors here for you to get on the court?
Untouched Kyrie would disagree with you.
I'm trying to think. Like,
who was the player that came out and didn't have their jersey on?
I've seen that where you just in your warm-ups.
Yeah.
I've seen that where like the players like, I didn't expect to get in the game. I'm not gonna lie to you. That just came out of my warm-ups. I feel like that's happened multiple times. the
guy comes in wearing a warm-up and then all of a sudden doesn't have his jersey on.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments if you think of another dumb way an NBA game can get delayed, because I thought that one was kind of dumb.
Oh, was there a bat or a squirrel?
Oh yeah, the Manu Ginobili smacked the bat out of the air. That's a great one. Yeah, that game was delayed for sure.
Meanwhile, the Heat was forced to play a finals in like 100-degree building versus Spurs. We just don't have AC. I don't know.
Just okay. I'll do this one. Al Horford was on JJ Redick's podcast this week, and he talked about Game 7 of 2018 Eastern Conference Finals. Al Horford was on the Celtics at this point. He said there's 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Quote, I'm looking at Smart, Jalen, Tatum, Terry Rozier, myself. We're all gassed. I'm looking at the other side. This is Game 7, 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. LeBron is just leaning at the scorer's table, very casual. He's played every single minute, and he looks unfazed. Quote, it was disturbing.
Count it up.
Is athleticism and conditioning LeBron's best skill that we don't talk about enough?
Yeah, no, for sure. His ability to go out there, even to this day, right? Like, we got to see it firsthand tonight versus the Bulls, where he just has moments and you're just like, what are you? Like, what lab built you? How are you still that fast, still that strong, still just that dominant, right? Like, and it's not even, it's the, I'm going to wear you down first by using my physicality against you, and realize there's nothing you can do. I'm 260, 6'8". You're going to be tired. And then once you do that, I'm going to run like a gazelle up and down the court. what is that? I would give him that. That is, he's also really good at basketball stuff as well, but yeah.
I would say that this is his best skill. You can talk about playmaking, feel for the game, and all this. Just his ability to be in this shape, the athleticism that he already had coming into the NBA, plus the conditioning that he's added to it. This is what's made LeBron James who he is and how he's lasted this long. The durability, like he's only had his first major injury, last season?
Yeah.
Season before that? He has just been like, he's the longevity king, right? Like he's the longevity goat. We're going to talk about him for a long time, and he's still going and averaging 30 points a game. He did have an insane travel tonight.
Oh, yeah, a 7-stepper. It was impressive. It was impressive. I will say he was a little tired after that. I'll tell you that.
There you go, guys. Let us know in the comment section below. What were you doing in 2006 when the Kings made the playoffs last time? We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Again, go check out Locked On NBA Game to Game, Locked On Mavs, and Locked On Bulls. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA.
Bye-bye.
Boom.